Robbie Benson, one-on-one. One-on-one. That was horrendous. I mean, and such a cliched, flawed movie that was just pedantically slow in terms of pace. You knew exactly what was going to happen. I mean, who didn't think that Benson was going to star in the championship game at the end of that movie? It would have been a better movie if he got hurt and never, he left the court.
You're like rooting for him to get hurt.
Some imagination if you're writing one of these scripts, no?
Like, oh, wow, they did it. There was a twist. I didn't see that coming.
Who thought he was going to fall flat on his face and the coach was going to say, you know what? I told you were awful and you should have been on the team in the first place. I should have revoked your scholarship. You're a jerk.
He's down on his luck and becomes a drug addict. You're like, wow, that movie took a turn. What a great movie.
Much better movie. It would have been a better movie if Hilary Swank had checked out after she got hit with the head with the chair, which, not even Richard Steele would have allowed that to go on. Steve Smoger, who would have a guy, I nicknamed Steve Smoger the boxing referee, let him bleed. Guy would be bleeding from every pore, and the Smoger going, yeah, one more round. That's it, kid. If you don't show me something here, I'm going to have to stop it. Steve, this fight should have been stopped when he came out of the dressing room. What are you talking about?
He's like passing out.
Guy's getting a transfusion in the corner, and Smoger's going, okay, man. He's telling Emmanuel Stewart, I'll give you guy one more round. That's it.
My God.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very special. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubitz. And I couldn't wait to get this thing switched on today because I know that I'm dealing with an elated Mike Lubitz who falls into that category the professor was outlining of guys that live in South Florida that absolutely hate all New York teams. And the New York Knicks yesterday, my son early this morning sent me a screenshot of 50 seconds left on the scoreboard. And the Knicks at that time up 121 to 112 over the Indiana Pacers. Now, the Indiana Pacers, and this stat was reiterated to me this morning, also via text by the media critic extraordinaire and a big fan of, I don't know if he's a fan of the show, but he certainly is an observer and a consultant on the program. Jim Sarney, former Sun Sentinel media critic. And he pointed out the stat that I didn't even realize it was this bizarre, but I did see this number before. That since 1996, there have been 4 teams that have won when they were down 7 points or more in the final 50 seconds of a ball game, either in the fourth quarter or overtime. And there have been 1,700 and change number of teams that have lost. They're like 4 and 1,702 in that circumstance, which you would imagine that 4 is even incredible. 3 of those wins under those conditions have come down 7+ with 50 seconds or less to go in a ball game, have been accomplished by the Indiana Pacers this year. And in a move, could you have just rolled back the tape, Lubie, to that Cleveland game and had the exact same maneuver that Tyrese Halliburton made against the Cavaliers in a miraculous comeback in that series when he drove into the paint, was inside the foul line, reverse direction, went back out. Now, in that case, the Pacers needed a 3.
Yeah.
At that point in the ball game. This time, he could have just as easily released the ball from inside the paint, one of those floaters, and maybe got to the stripe or whatever and put the Pacers into an overtime situation. But instead, he goes back out. Now he has a toe on the stripe. Otherwise, the Pacers win. He goes into the Reggie Miller choke sign thing, which at first I didn't quite make the connection. And I realized, oh, yeah, that was it. That was Reggie Miller. It's his exact maneuver when he rattled off the 8 points in like 13 seconds or whatever that was and beat the Knicks in a playoff game. So incredible circumstance. And wow, I mean, how deflating was that? All of those superstars, they must have soiled their pants as they were sitting in those $5,000 to $10,000 seats along the sideline there. And you immediately, Lubie, started pointing to what you think is a blatant discrepancy in coaching talent between Thibodeau and Rick Carlisle. Well, Rick Carlisle is such an understated guy that I don't know that outside of a few NBA insiders and maybe people inside the league, that he gets the credit that he probably deserves for being a solid coach throughout his career. Yep. I don't know if he's brilliant, but has always been an accomplished coach, a winning coach. Yep. Thibodeau, as I've said a few times now, he really looks like a guy that went to Katz's Deli. I got a pastrami sandwich to go. Didn't look at it. Didn't look inside the bag to see if they even had the little packets of Gould's mustard in there. And then got home and he found one slice of pastrami, and it was on two slices of Wonder Bread, not even rye. And he just got screwed out of $26 on the sandwich plus the tip. And he just has that bitter look of some fetching old Jew that is complaining about the portions at a deli where they're serving you dishes that are the size that could satisfy even a 400-pound guy. But wild to see that. And how devastating of a blow do you anticipate that being, Lubie? Because, wow, that was clearly, if you were going to define the anatomy of a choke, that was it. Now, to their credit, is it Neesmith? Is that how you pronounce the guy's name? It looks like Nesmith, but it's Neesmith. And this guy goes crazy. It's 5 straight threes. I think they had 8 out of 9 3-pointers that they made in that stretch. And the Halliburton shot was a clear-cut brick that went up there. It goes straight to the ceiling. Those don't often fall, Lubie.
Oh, no. I thought
Those
it was
don't often go in. It wasn't Allen Houston, and that was at least a legitimate shot. But all right, I'll let you tee it up because I know you've been salivating, chomping at the bit here to just condemn all New Yorkers, everything about Manhattan, and especially the New York Knicks. What did you think?
I mean, as our friend Billy Corbin used to say, that'd be too soon. That would be like the definition of piling on. I mean, it feels like what happened in the Oval Office yesterday. If I do that, I don't think
that was a bizarre scene, wasn't it?
It was, and it made no sense. And it's like, it's what I would feel if I did that to the Knicks today. Knick fan. I mean, like they're sort of what resilient. I mean, my friends are like talking about the next game, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I would be in shock. Like I would be so I can't stand the Knicks. I was rooting for the Pacers and I had given up in that game. I mean, it was when I saw it was 8 with 120. I was like, oh, okay, it's over.
It was 14 with a couple of minutes to go.
2 minutes left. It was 14. But I was like, okay, 8 120, just finish strong. Because I think the Pacers are going to win in this series in 6. But I thought about yesterday. I was like, you know what? Everyone went the Garden. New York fans have lost their mind. New Yorkers have lost their mind. The Garden's going to be insane. The Knicks will probably come out tonight with like full bore, and the Knicks will probably win tonight. And
that'd be tomorrow night's game. Yeah.
No, that was game 1. I was talking about going into game 1. Like,
okay.
I still think the Pacers. Even then, I was like, yeah, the Pacers will probably win in 6, but the Knicks are going to win. Like, it's going to be such a frenzy in the Garden. Like, it's going to be hard for the Pacers to get out with a win. So like, I could see the Pacers losing tonight, and then still finding a way, split, go home, maybe win both at home, and then do a little back and forth and win in 6. And then when it was at 8 with 120, I'm like, yeah, just finish strong so you have something to build on. It's fine. Brunson went off, and
your only concern was the spread at that point.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was like, but again, we've seen you can finish games a certain way that gives you something to build on for the next game. So you didn't want to get routed. So it was like, okay, cool. At least they're hanging around a little, fine. And then my buddies, whenever the game's over, they always text. We're in a group chat and it's 2 of my really good friends that are both Knicks fans of me. And whenever the game's over, they start texting. So I stopped watching, but they weren't texting each other. And I'm like, what are they doing? I'm like, the game's over, guys. Relax. And then I look and it's 5 with 29 seconds. I'm like, I mean, come on. Like, they're not going to come back. So, but I'm like, I guess let me put it on.
The guys were getting in cabs outside of Madison Square Garden and instructing the driver, just please drive me straight into the Hudson River.
I mean, it should have been. Look, you just make your free. That's what the Cavs game was, right? The Cavs, they couldn't throw the ball in and they couldn't make free throws. And that's what happened with the Knicks. Like, you have to make your free throws and you can end these games. And they just, Towns and Anunoby, and it was like, okay, the Pacers aren't a team to do that with. This team will make these weirdo shots. The Halliburton play I thought was one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen. Like, you're down 2, and he had the
Obi Toppin too was huge at the ex-Knick.
That dunk, that dunk was great.
Yeah. Well, he had a couple of big plays on the inside. He had a big dunk, and how was that not called the foul? The guy's looking right at him.
Yeah, he
Should
got
have put him
fouled
on
too.
the stripe there. I mean,
Yeah.
he got clobbered on that play, and
He got fouled too.
you couldn't miss that. The referee is like 2 feet away.
And they only called three. They didn't call one foul for the Pacers in the overtime. The overtime they didn't call a foul. They literally didn't. The Knicks called about 4 or 5. And look, they were trying. And my friends were saying this morning, and because I said this, when you would see the blowouts last round with the Thunder and the Nuggets, people would go, "Oh my God, the Nuggets are the Thunder are the." It's like, no, it's one game. It only counts for one game. And that's true. And you would see the team come back the next game, and it happened with the Panthers too. Just because you won 6-1 doesn't mean you can't.
Very hard though to choke away a game one like that, and then come back and have to win 4 of the next 6, regardless of what happens in game number 2.
Well, and that's the caveat to that. It's only one game. I'm not saying it to them. I'm letting them just try and have some kind of positivity.
A total gag job. I mean, that was incredible. The Cleveland game was one thing. In that series with Indiana, and this was the game that was going to set the pace and establish what the hell was going to go on in the series there. At least so we thought. I remember thinking, and we said it yesterday, I probably need to see one to figure out exactly. I mean, is it a little cheesy to not want to make a prediction until you see a ball game? But I don't know that I had a feel for the matchups and how they were going to go. And sure enough, it looked like it was all going the Knicks' way. But to cough up a 14-point lead inside of 3 minutes, and then literally 50 seconds to go, it's 121-112. You can't. I don't know. Did you think the Knicks just put a lid on and were trying to avoid losing at that point or that stage, or did Indiana's phenomenal shooting? It didn't hurt them any. When is Neesmith going to make 5 straight threes? Who makes 5 straight threes in the NBA? Very few people.
No, conference finals, not many. I don't know. It was the problem with the one game thing. Look, when you're getting blown out, and we've talked about this, what's the worst way to lose? Close or blown. A lot of times you can just chalk it up to an aberration and come back the next game. When you have a game in the bag and you hand it away, which is what it was. Like, even if the Pacers are making threes, if you just make 2 free throws down the stretch, you win the game. To give that game away at home, and then, okay, he makes the shot, he does the choke, the fans are like, oh, it's only 2. Yeah, but you idiots, you should have won the game. To then go into overtime, that's what's going to happen. Like, you're not going to go to overtime and win that game at home. Like, once they went to overtime, it felt like a foregone conclusion. Now the Knicks jumped out a 4-point lead, and it was back and forth. But the Pacers slowly just hung around and finished them off, and it's like, it's just one game. It's only 1-0, but man, that's hard. That's hard to get yourself up. And that's my problem with Thibodeau. Like, I don't think Thibodeau's motivator guy. Thibodeau is play really hard, play fundamentally sound, get the job done, which gets you to a certain point. But when the things are falling apart like that, he's not the guy to stop the tide. And say whatever you want about Carlisle, his teams tend to do well in these situations. Throughout the years, whether it's the Mavericks, the Pacers, his teams at end of games are very interesting. And this Pacers team has done this a lot the last 2 to 3 years. Like, I don't know. And I don't know if he's the guy to then wake them up and get them motivated. He said it's just one game. Yeah, even when I read the quote, I could hear him saying it depressed. Like,
that was Thibodeau's quote. It's just one game.
Yeah, it happens.
No, that was not just one game. That was devastating. It literally. I mean, we were talking the other day with Jim Lampley on our conversation show here on Bleacher Brothers, which turned out to be a lot of fun. And nice. Of course, Len Robbins joined us, and he came on to talk about the Knicks series, and he does it in a Gleason's Gym shirt, as we did a little crossover with Lampley.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, this was one of those games where it was like the George Foreman fight against Michael Moore, where guys winning every round. It happened with Hercules Mike Weaver against Big John Tate, where a guy wins every second of every round. The Foreman fight wasn't in the final round; it was in the 10th round. In the John Tate fight, Knoxville, Tennessee, his hometown, he gets knocked out by Hercules Mike Weaver in the final seconds of the 12th and final round.
Oh, God.
But, I mean, there's no way that you could envision, in this case, a team losing under those circumstances.
No.
I think that's a punch. That's a low blow. I mean, that's one of those things that you need a long time to recover from, I would think. They may come back and win game 2, but imagine that only leaves them even Steven going to Indiana. And That game, to blunder a game away like that, you rarely see that. It's amazing that Indiana's been able to do it 3 times so far in this postseason to make the stat. I think it's 4 and 1702, 4 and 1,702 times. The teams have been in that circumstance and ended up on the losing side 17 times out of. Just the odds. What are those odds? That's like 0.001% of the time that you come out on top. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a tough one to recover from. And Indiana was playing decent basketball throughout most of the ball game. The Knicks surged then in the third quarter and appeared to have this thing under wraps. But wow, that's a devastating blow. Thibodeau to shrug that off is very surprising. You would have thought that his head would be down on the countertop of the dais there when he was in the post-game press conference, and that he wouldn't even be able to utter a word.
They're gonna do that. I don't know, man. I can't stand the Knicks, and the way the Knicks fans have acted after the last round reminded me exactly why I can't stand the Knicks. Because until I met Boston fans, Knicks fans or New York fans were as obnoxious as any fan base I'd ever met. So it reminded me just how they can be when they're winning, because they haven't won in so long. They had actually become human beings when it came to fans. At least New York. I know there's a lot of Knicks fans and New York fans that are human beings, but a lot of the Knicks fans I dealt with in my life were obnoxious jerk-offs. And that had come out. So it was like, okay, even those fans, like I don't know if I feel bad, but I'm not rubbing it. A loss like that is tough. Like that's really hard.
Cancel the plans for the parade, or at least postpone the date, because certainly became prohibitive that they were going to make their way in. And of course, the horrifying possibility for, and Sarni was, we were talking about this yesterday, saying that the ratings for the NBA playoffs have been increased at least by a reasonable percentage over what they've had last year. But I would imagine that goes out the window if you're going to have Indiana instead of the Knicks in the final round. And it appears we'll find out a little bit more about that tonight as Minnesota and OKC go at it again. But OKC in that second half really established what appeared to be clear superiority over the Minnesota Timberwolves, leading you to believe that they probably win again tonight. Yeah. And even accomplishing a split in Minnesota would have the series very much in the back. All right, hockey continued last night. Got the Western Conference playoffs underway. The Panthers will be back in action tonight, going against the Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes somewhat back to the wall, as we've been talking about. The home ice advantage is not as significant in hockey, but it has been throughout the playoffs. You've seen the home teams prevail more often than not. The Florida Panthers don't fit that MO to any degree whatsoever, because they've been dynamite on the road. And so they have a chance to take a 2-0 lead. Dallas was, I really didn't understand how they were the favorite to win it all, Lubie. I would have thought any number of other Western teams, including Winnipeg, would have been accorded that distinction. But Dallas, a hell of a team, huh? They bounce back. They're down 3-1. The arena goes flat. This is supposedly, I've never been there for a hockey game, and I haven't been to that many hockey arenas around the country, but supposedly the loudest and most raucous crowd that you could find in the NHL, or among them. Now, that's saying a lot, because you see how the crowds are frenetic when you get to the postseason especially, but and the crowd is relatively silenced, as it looked like Edmonton, who had won 8 out of 9 playoff games since losing their first 2 to the Kings, go up 3-1. And before you know it, blink of an eye, I was switching back and forth between the Pacer game against the Knicks and the hockey game. And I come back to it, it's 3-2, and I happen to tune in as they make it 3-3. I go away for a second, I come back, it's 4-3 Dallas, and they end up winning going away, 6-3 the final there, which I think included an empty netter. But so Dallas looking very formidable to stave off what was a 3-1 deficit, come back and win that game. And so the rematch. Are you rooting for that, Lubie? I mean, being a South Floridian, are you rooting for Edmonton to come back and play the Panthers again, or would you just as soon see Dallas, or does it not matter at all as long as Florida makes their way into the final?
I just want them to get there. I mean, look, to play the Stars would be cool. They've been around a little while. They've had their eras of success. So
Former Panther coach behind the bench.
Yep. So to play Dallas would be cool. And the Oilers are just all over the place and exciting. So I know that would get probably eyeballs because you'd have Canada, you'd have South Florida, you'd have people going, even in America, going, why is the Panthers in the Stanley Cup for a third straight year? Yeah, I don't know. That game was interesting, though, to see Dallas sort of pull away against an Oilers team that offensively is with anyone. Was interesting. I was trying to keep pace with it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll watch it. This game's over because I thought the basketball game was over. And I'm like, 6-3. Like, what is this?
Incredible turnaround there. Dallas really turned up the heat once they got to the third period. All right, we're going to have the trivia challenge. One other item, Jim Irsay checked out at 65.
Yeah.
I don't know that came as any huge surprise to anybody, given the lasting image we have of Jim Irsay getting busted with drugs and like 25 or 50 grand in the car.
Then you have guns and drugs and like
Guns,
100
drugs, and everything.
It's like your movie there.
You're thinking this guy's living a pretty wild lifestyle. I know Mark Davis is doing well for himself. He's always got some babe in spite of the Buster Brown haircut. But I don't know that anybody was living more on the razor's edge than Jim Irsay, at least from what we could decipher and deduce from that particular incident. He always seemed to be a little bit gruff, did he not, Jim Irsay?
Yep.
It was sort of cantankerous and contentious whenever anybody questioned him and what was going on, the direction of the Indianapolis Colts or any of his players and draft picks, whatever. He always seemed to be one of those guys that was very assertive in saying, almost as we saw yesterday, as you mentioned, in that Oval Office thing where I don't know that. Would he have done the same thing to Helen Thomas, the Trumpster? She asked a question. Just say you're not qualified to be here. That was great. I mean, that was. Did he borrowed a page from like the Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells School of Press Conferences.
Yes.
Which, a lot of people seem to dig that. I mean, there was great admiration for both of those coaches, and while Belichick wasn't very well liked by the media. He was always accorded the benefit of the doubt, or so it seemed, because of his accomplishment. Parcells used to just eviscerate and emasculate reporters all the time, and yet everybody loved the guy, right? Didn't matter. Like you could come up to him, and he would tell you to go drop dead, that you're a worthless piece of crap, and you go, oh, thanks, Bill. What is it about certain people that are able to do that and pull it off and still be well liked and admired? Which is, I don't know that Dave Gurggles Gergely is like this, because we're going to have the trivia challenge coming up, by the way, and all your trivia players that are chomping at the bit. There he is, the handsome one himself, Dave Gurggles Gergely. Never ages. That's the beauty of you, Gurggles. Never ages. Incredible. How are you feeling? And good to have you on the show.
Well, going for our annual golf trip in 3 weeks, and then when I come back that weekend on that Monday, got another hip coming. So,
oh yeah, get out of here.
2010, I had my left hip done. I went to the same doc and said, Doc, my right knee's bothering me a little bit, but it starts a little higher up a little bit. He goes, the right one's ready to go. I said, let's do it. So time for another new hip. And then it should work out perfect, good Lord willing, because I've got 6 weeks of therapy then. And by the time I finish, I'll be ready for my trip to Saratoga. So it'll be perfect. I got to be able to run fast enough when there's 2 minutes to post. But
exactly. Yeah,
you were talking about the Irsays.
Yeah.
When I worked at the athletic club, Robert Irsay's personal pilot, little guy, looked just like George Goebel. Every time the Colts would come down, he'd come into the gym and work out, and I'd chat with him, and he could not have been nicer. And I asked him about his boss. He never said much about him. But, man, you're getting old when now his son has checked out. And the other time you're getting old is when they have to fill in your birth date on one of these things on a computer, and you scroll down for the year. And you just have to keep scrolling.
Yeah, they don't even have my year, I think.
Well,
it just says other years under consideration. I wanted to ask you this, though, because I've been recommending the Synvisc shot to many people. And I remember recommending it to you. I think you had a little bit of a different treatment. It was a series of shots. I don't know how many.
I had hyaluronic acid.
Okay, so it wasn't the same thing.
I don't think so. What is yours?
It was called Synvisc. I remember telling you about it.
I think it's contained in that. If I'm not, and I'm going to find out, because I've got one coming in my knee before I go on the golf trip, and I'm going to ask him about that Synvisc. And it's a shot.
Yeah, so one shot. Literally, I was walking around a complete cripple. Like Verbal Kent had a better day
Yeah.
than I did in The Usual Suspects. Constant pain, and it kept getting worse and worse, exacerbated almost every day. And my doctor told me, look, you probably need a knee replacement, but let me try this.
Yeah.
This works for some people. I had the shot. It was a miracle. I've never had any problem with my knee since.
Beautiful. I'm going to look at the combination because the hyaluronic acid helped me quite a bit.
Yeah, because I remember you couldn't even get off the stool there. You almost fell down when you were getting off the stool at the bar at the Gulfstream, and I thought, wow, poor Gurggles.
That was
I wish
before
you
my
know.
so yeah, that's
Usually,
true.
you recommend some kind of medical thing, and the people look at you, and then they go ahead and follow their own doctor's instructions, maybe to their own disadvantage.
I'm
And
going to check
I
that out.
thought you had it done, and that you were fine after that.
Yeah, I'm going to check that Sinfest out, and we'll see about that. Whether it's because the hyaluronic acid, I don't even know if it's covered by Medicare, and they run like $300 a shot. So,
Nothing is covered by Medicare anymore. Did you see
yeah,
that?
no,
They
you're
passed that bill.
exactly right.
Medicare is a thing of the past. So get ready to pay a lot of money for your medical treatments. All right, we're going to have the trivia challenge come on. Enough about our knees. I just wanted to I go back over that with you because I've been telling people about it. And while it worked for me, everybody always needs more validation, more verification. And
Sure.
I thought, wow, my friend Dave Gurggles Gergely was literally crawling on the floor of Gulfstream Park. I thought he was looking for winning show tickets that were thrown away after a disqualification. And I remember you just being in mortal pain. I thought you had that treatment, and then we're fine after that. So. I mean, you were singing Zippity Doodah on your way to the self-betting machines. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment here. The trivia challenge gets underway. Lubie's going to be taking your calls at 954-417-0070. 954-417-0070. Have all kinds of great prizes, and we should be adding in more in the near future as well. But
cool.
Essentially, we have a Landlubber's gift certificate and also possibility that you'll win a Texas Roadhouse gift certificate, depending on geography and maybe even what your preferences are. So we'll have that for you coming up. Your chance to win something. That's always great. 954-417-0070. The trivia challenge gets underway in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:33. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine foods served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage.
Oh, Solo Volante will be coming late. Oh, Solo Volante, the Belmont's now 1 mile and an 8. The finish line is coming up quick. Luca Panici just switched the stick.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
I'm going to roll out the trivia challenge here with Dave Gurggles Gergely. Before we get into that, Gurggles, we didn't get a chance to talk to you since the Preakness was contested last Saturday. How'd you make out in that affair?
Well, I had to try. I had the pick 4 and everything like that. Didn't pay much. I didn't. I went with Sandman in the third spot, figuring he'd close. But so it was okay. I'm looking forward to the days at Saratoga with the Belmont coming up. And by the way, I have to ask you, how's our friend Luca Panici doing? I saw him take a fall.
Took a really, horrific looking spill. Amazingly, he came out of it okay. No serious injury. I don't know how soon he's going to be back in the saddle, so to speak, but I did have a communication with him the next day. He said he was sore, but he was essentially okay.
Good. And by the way, Rispoli rode a really terrific ride, didn't he?
You know what's weird about that? It's like anything in sports where, if the horse, this burst of speed that journalism has in the final 50 yards or so, was also on exhibition in the Santa Anita Derby when he mowed down Baeza, who appeared to be uncatchable after he got in some early trouble in the race in a small field. But even after he battled his way through that hole and didn't get, he was knocked off balance, squeezed out, and kind of held in there for a while. He was trapped in there for a while. It still looked impossible for him to catch up to the 9-ball who was in front. And the way he blew by that horse and recovered, you rarely see that. So an incredible late burst of speed by journalism on a couple of occasions in his biggest wins. Was terrific, but if he doesn't get up in the final strides, everybody's screaming that Rispoli is a fool and he should have gone to the outside and had no business going through there, and he would have been subject of immense criticism. As even when people win, they still complain. You know how a degenerate horse player is, so they're like, can you believe this guy? I can't believe he put him in that spot, but couldn't have anticipated the Baffert horse coming in that badly on him. And wow, it was great for Umberto, who was humble enough. He must have received, I was telling Lubie this earlier in the week, he must have received, thousands of text messages from people around the world. This is a guy who's popular all over the world. And sure enough, I happened to send him I sent him a text, Umberto with a few exclamation points right after he crossed the wire. And the next day, I look in my text messages, and there's one from Rispoli saying, "Thank you, Jeff."
Oh, that is great.
So he took the time to return. I barely know the guy. I only know him from doing the show and exchange of messages trying to set that up. So that was very cool. And I'm hoping he'll rejoin us. It looks like it's going to be a toe-to-toe battle with Sovereignty coming up in the Belmont, and Baeza, I think, is in there as well. So those three.
And as Paulie would say, maybe some new shooters. And now the trivia question for you.
Yeah.
Who was the last Belmont winning rider we had on our show?
Last Belmont winning rider. I don't think Early Fires ever won the Belmont Stakes. Who was it? Johnny V? I don't remember.
We had Walter Blum on.
Oh, he did? Okay.
He won on Pass Catcher. Yeah.
That might have been the only Belmont winning rider.
I think it was.
I have had Jerry Bailey on a few shows. I may try to get in touch with Jerry and see if he'll do some analysis for us. All right, we have to get to the game. Louis, I can feel Lubie. I can sense Lubie. After you work with a guy long enough, you can just feel the vibe. And he's saying, come on, Deef, get to it already. Enough about your horse racing. So we may have some horse racing questions in here, but
I might have one or two.
Want to play? 954-417-0070 for the certificates we're giving away. Landlubbers or Texas Roadhouse. We begin the game in the traditional fashion. Dave Gurggles Gergely, and filling in for the Polyman in this capacity on this question and some.
Easy baseball. This comedian on the conflict of being Jewish and playing baseball said, I don't know, when we played softball, I'd steal second base, feel guilty, and go back to first. Woody Allen, Hank Allen, Mel Allen, or Mel Blanc?
Roll it, Lubie, to choose our first player from the many callers. And we have Ron via the random phone scrambler. Ron, you're on the trivia challenge. Good morning.
Good morning, fellas. Let's go with A.
Correct. Nice start. 1 point.
Sorry, Ron, last week for us winning. I was very disappointed.
Oh, sure you were.
All right, true or false? Let's stick with horse racing, Ron. Former South Florida radio host, talk show host, Ed Kaplan, who hasn't been around on the air, will be working this summer as the Racing Forms chart man at Canterbury Downs? True or false?
True.
No.
That has to be false.
Talk to Eddie K. We didn't even know Eddie.
Hey, man, I've been tempted. I have a number for him that I had in the past, which I think is still valid. And lately, I've been thinking about giving him a call for a number of reasons, just because I love the guy, a real mensch of a human being, Eddie K, and a pioneer in degenerate gambling as a broadcaster.
He got me a start on radio, and one of the guys on my trip is Jim the Tree Crawford.
That's who I got his number from again.
And he sees Eddie all the time. They go to some Marlins games, and he says he's doing great.
Yeah, he always was one of a kind, a very unique individual. Wanted nothing from anybody and just leave me alone and let me make my bets. He was great like that. All right, one going for 4 here, Ron.
All right, Ron, baseball. Which of the following teams was the first, this is baseball now, to have a triple crown hitter and pitcher, meaning the pitcher led in wins, strikeouts, and ERA in the same season? Philadelphia A's, Dodgers, Cardinals, or Yankees?
Let's go Cardinals.
Cardinals.
It's the obvious one. The Yankees. Lou Gehrig and Lefty Gomez.
Very nice. That was an interesting question. You have one going for 6, Ron.
All right, let's go back to the demise last night of the Knicks, which couldn't make me happier.
You and Lubie are rejoicing today. I can feel the vibe, the good vibe going.
In the 1995 playoff game between the Knicks and Pacers, when Reggie Miller scored an amazing 8 points in 9 seconds, the first was a three-pointer, and the second also a three-pointer when he stole an inbound pass from who?
Ooh, good one.
John Starks, Anthony Mason, Patrick Ewing, or Larry Johnson?
From who?
I think it's Ewing.
I'm going to say Starks.
It was Starks.
Anthony Mason.
Mason.
Yeah.
All right. Very good, Ron. Well, not very good, but
Nice try.
this game, like the Pacers, you're never out of it. Completely.
We'll throw you a softball. This is the last Preakness question for you. Which jockey has won the most Preakness stakes with 6? Bill Hardtack, Eddie Arcaro, Jerry Bailey, or Willie Shoemaker?
I lost, Ron. I'll get him right back. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I actually lost track of where we were at, and I thought that was the 5-point question.
He's got one going for 6.
Okay. All right. We'll get him back here, Ron. In the meantime, I guess let's get a word in about Perdomo Cigars, because we don't want to waste a moment of airtime here.
I'll be going to see them in 2 weeks. They're open. Don't forget, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You got them back, Mike? And you can go there at 5150 Northwest 167th Street. Go see Nick and the gang. I'll take a bunch of cigars with me on our annual trip to Orlando for golf. All right, Ron, you ready?
I was ready to write him off, but hey, he's still alive. Here we go.
All right. We're giving you a Preakness question, even though it's past. Which jockey had won the most Preakness stakes in his career with 6? Bill Hardtack, Eddie Arcaro, Jerry Bailey, or Willie Shoemaker?
Let's go B.
I'm going to say Arcaro also.
B, that is correct.
Yes, wow.
Right. Eddie Arcaro, who had that famous quote after he was successful, it's hard to get up early in the morning when you're wearing silk pajamas.
All right, Ron ends up with 6 points. We had written him off, very Pacer-esque, as there were just seconds to go in a game, and he comes through with a big three-pointer. 954-417-0070 if you'd like to play the game and compete for the top prize, and also the rather noble distinction of being a champion here on the Trivia Challenge. 954-417-0070 if you'd like to join us and play the game. We have the Landlubbers gift certificates, also Texas Roadhouse. Lubie will be live tonight with the trivia contest.
Will you be there, Mike, even though there's a Panther game?
Yeah, because the Panther game, it says 8, and we usually are done before 8. And then on top of that, with the conference finals, the games don't start till like 8, 10, 8:15. So, yeah, we'll be done well before, and we will definitely be there having some trivia fun around 6:30.
And by the way, I looked up that Sinvisc. It is the acid I told you about is the main ingredient.
The main ingredient. There you go.
Yeah. So that's probably what I did have.
I thought it worked wonders for you.
It helped. It really did.
Okay, very good. All right, 954-417-0070. Dave Gurggles Gergely in the Trivia Challenge. And about to line up our next player here. Looks like Lubie's. Lubie, are you disclosing inside information about the questions here? As
No, he wouldn't do that.
we'll go ahead and fire off our next series of questions. Here's Dave.
Okay, boxing. This American fighter, responding to a dig from an opponent across the pond, said, "Frank Bruno says I'm chicken." Well, you can tell him I've come home to roost. Who's that? Joe Bugner, Joe Johnson, Olson and Johnson, or Jimmy Olson?
All right, rolling the random phone scrambler to select our next player. All right, always a good sign. This gentleman looking good. We got together last Friday night, Lubie, and I think he was at the trivia competition on Thursday as well.
He looks really good, thank God.
I mean, he's trimmed down. It looked like he could go 12 with the Fighting Rabbi. Yuri Foreman is a good friend. But here's Andy. Andy, you're on the trivia challenge. Good morning, my friend.
Hey, guys. Doesn't Joe Bugner look like Dudley Do-Right? Remember Dudley Do-Right? He had the big jaw. Jaw coming out.
Usually not a good thing for a fighter to have a jaw sticking out like Don Shula.
And Andy, this is not your 1 point true or false, but what was Dudley Do-Right's wicked opposition's name?
I don't remember.
Snidely Whiplash. Snidely Whiplash.
Whiplash.
Fire that one in case the professor asked it one time.
All right. Very good. All right, here is your true false question.
All right, hockey. Drake is attempting to change the narrative following the Toronto Maple Leafs loss in Game 7. He's claiming instead that the curse for the Maple Leafs loss was Justin Bieber. True or false?
I know it's true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, Bieber was there in the background, and Drake said he's the one that caused it. Yep.
Could be, yeah. I mean, there may be some validity to that. 2 for 2, Andy, going for 5.
All right, Andy, baseball. On this day in sports in 1938, this major league team announced they would be adding lights to their field. Was that the Phillies, the Pirates, the Dodgers, or the Reds?
Go with the Reds.
No, it was the Dodgers at Ebbets Field.
All right, very good. 2 going for 7, Andy. This would put you on top.
All right, let's give you a hockey question. The Florida Panthers' longest streak without making the playoffs was the 10-year period from 2001 to 2011. When they finally got back in 2012, however, they lost in the first round to who? The Islanders, the Bruins, the Flyers, or the Devils?
I'll go with the Devils. But before I answer, I'm surprised to be able to get Ron back on the line because Ron's real job is an air traffic controller in Newark.
And you were right about the Devils. They beat them 4-3.
I believe Peter DeBoer was the coach of the Devils that year. All right. Very good, Andy. 7 points. Ron has 6. Tight competition here for the championship of the Trivia Challenge. You can jump on board at 954-417-0070, 954-417-0070. Landlubbers gift certificates, Texas Roadhouse gift certificates to be given away as part of the prize package here on the show. We did get in a brief word about Perdomo Cigars, Dave Gurggles Gergely, but let's extrapolate and expand on that and give people the full gist of just how terrific this product is.
We're not too far away from Father's Day, gentlemen. So you want to get yourself something, or the little lady asks, "What should I get you?" Get a box of cigars from Perdomo Cigars. Easy to visit, 5150 Northwest 167th Street on the south side of the street, just a little bit east of the Home Depot there. You'll see the big Perdomo Cigars sign. And they can use Nick now. He was an air traffic controller, as Jeff well knows, and went back into the family business. 4th generation now with Nick Jr. in the business. Go in there, say hello to Bruce, who's at the concierge, retired police officer who knows everything about Perdomo Cigars as well. If you're a first-time smoker, he'll guide you. Maybe you want a variety pack. They make them perfect one at a time. Easy access, and the price is right. Perdomo Cigars, Cuban seed tobacco grown in Nicaragua, 305-627-6700. On Saturday and Sunday, they are closed, but PerdomoCigars.com will direct you to the tobacconist closest to you that has them. So tonight, when the Panthers and the Hurricane go under the goal total, put something great in your mouth with a cigar from Perdomo Cigars.
You're expecting a low-scoring affair tonight, Dave.
I'm expecting maybe 2-1.
All right. And this comes under the heading of something that might be said by the late, great Gordon Soley. And this was always my favorite condition of any sporting competition, when an event was being contested under television time limit. And that would only happen in professional wrestling. But due to television time limit, we're going to go ahead and square off our two competitors here for the championship right now. So it's going to be Ron versus Andy. And while Lubie is setting that up, I can go ahead into the rules. By the way, the tush push remains as part of the Philadelphia Eagles strategy. Big, what was it, just Green Bay and the Eagles that were going after each other? Your man, Jeffrey Lurie, the Philadelphia Eagles owner, what was very outspoken and demonstrative at the owners' meeting, saying, hey, this is BS. You're targeting us for coming up with a play that nobody seems to be able to stop. It's available to anybody to go ahead and try to master it, even though other teams have not had the same level of success. And so they left it in there by a vote of 22-10 among the 30.
I think what changed it was Travis Kelce speaking out against it. I think a lot of the owners are anti-Swifties, and they said, well, if Travis Kelce's for it, we're against it. I figured the Chiefs would complain because they got their ass kicked by the Eagles. But to be honest with you, I'm really not a fan of that play myself.
No, I don't like it either.
As an Eagles fan, it's just,
I tell you what bothers me the most about it is that while they award a running back forward progress when the defense pushes them back, then why should they allow the offense to push a guy forward and give him that yardage?
Bingo.
Yeah.
In other words, the defense can't do the same thing and just push a guy back while he's standing up. So why should you be allowed to push a guy forward? It seems, and I thought the adjustment was more than fair in that they were going to say that you can't either pull a guy or push a guy offensively to advance him and gain extra yardage. And I thought they should have adapted the new rule and said, hey, listen, Philadelphia, you had a lot of fun with this. You had a lot of success, but it's time to move on. This is not something that's especially appealing all the way around the league, and the fans have a mixed reaction to it.
Well,
Go ahead.
Even the Eagles fans would have voted against it if they had put in the clause that they can sell beer after the third quarter.
Can you imagine shutting down the concessions, in the fourth quarter, just when you really? I mean, especially here in South Florida, where do they do the same thing? I think they do, don't they?
Yeah, I think it might be throughout the league, as a matter of fact.
Like 1,000 degrees outside if you're on the sun side of the field there.
Imagine an Eagles fan maybe in the 70s or 80s or whenever it was, or even the 90s, going into the concession stand to buy a beer, and they say no, and the guy tending the bar is Eric Gregg, the old umpire. Boy, would he catch a mouthful.
All right, here we go. The finals are set with Andy and Ron are two competitors today going to square off in a mano-a-mano matchup here. Dave's got a question for you. Call out your name if you want to answer right away. Nobody does that. We offer multiple choice. First person to call out his name gets first chance. And we go back and forth until we have a winner for the championship here of today's edition of the Trivia Challenge. Here's Dave Gurggles Gergely.
Baseball. Who was the first player in Major League Baseball to receive 4 intentional walks in a single game?
Wow. All right. Good one. Here's multiple choice.
All right. Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Stan Musial, or Hank Greenberg?
Interesting. Anybody?
Andy.
Yes, we got Andy. We got you. Go on, Andy. Go.
Go ahead, Andy.
I'll go with Hank Greenberg.
That's what I would have said, but no. 3 left for Ron.
Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, or Stan Musial?
Go Mickey Mantle.
I was going to go not with that, but 2 left for Andy.
Roger Maris or Stan Musial?
I'll go with Dwayne Betts.
Dwayne
Roger
Betts.
Maris or Sam Usual.
No, I'll go with Dwayne Betts was unbelievable. Thanks, people.
Oh, that was great.
I'll go with Roger Maris.
Maris.
Believe it or not,
Yes.
in 1961, when he hit the 61 home runs, he had 0 intentional walk because he batted in front of Mantle. The next year, he had 5 walks in a single game, 4 intentionally.
Unreal. Unbelievable. All right, Andy, congratulations. You're our winner. And Ron, nice job as our runner-up. However, no consolation prize on this week's edition of the Trivia Challenge.
Andy, you might want to tell Andy, we don't have any of those certificates on hand, but what we will do is give you Lenny's address. Probably somewhere in his apartment, you can find some.
I mean, this is not meant in any kind of poor taste because we loved Lenny like a brother, and he was such a long-time supporter of everything that we did, including when he came by Schuler's that time and scarfed all of the food off the dais, which was great. But did he take those gift certificates to his grave?
No, he did not. He shared. He was a wonderful person. He
but he had so many of them. I don't think he could have used them all.
Heart of gold. No. Well, Ron probably has them, so you could go to Ron's house, Andy.
Were they in somebody's will? Can you imagine? And to my good friend Ron, I bequeath, whatever that was, 14,000 gift certificates to Landlubber's restaurant.
Last I heard from Landlubbers, they had some guy dressed as St. Peter coming in with a gift certificate. I don't know.
All right, Dave. Great job.
Hey, gentlemen.
Thanks so much. A lot of fun today. Kind of lighten things up for those Knicks fans out there that are face down in the gutter today after that incredible comeback. Panthers and Carolina tonight. What Gurgle says the under, that it's going to be a low-scoring, tightly contested defensive battle. The two goaltenders are going to be standing on their heads. So what do you think, Lubie? What do you make of this one?
I would love for the Panthers to come out like they did in game one and push it and get to a 2-0 series lead on the road. I don't expect that. I mean, the Hurricanes are a really sound team.
Wow.
They're a sound team. They play really good defense. They're well coached. The Panthers got to the goalie in the second period. I don't know. Like, it's hard. They don't do this like in back-to-back games unless they really need to. It feels like with the team. So I don't know. Like with the Knicks and Pacers game one, it's actually what I feel like with this game. I don't know what to expect from the Panthers this game. I don't think they'll get routed, but to automatically assume they go up 2-1, 2-0 is tough for me to see. Like, I don't think the Hurricanes are just going to get pushed around in the series. Like, I know they've lost 13 in a row in conference finals, and people keep showing that, like, or 50, whatever the hell the number is. Like, that gets to teams. These guys have a lot of pride. It's hard for me to believe that they're not going to take this game tonight.
And the local media here, which doesn't consist of much, I guess Dave Hyde would be the reference point. We're speculating and going ahead and professing the idea that this team is way better than the one that even won the Stanley Cup last year.
Personnel-wise, it feels like it.
That wasn't necessarily a reflection of their record in the regular season, but perhaps, I don't know. I didn't sense that they were coasting in the regular season. They did make those late additions that made a world of difference with Seth Jones and Brad Marchand, who have been fantastic for the Panthers in the postseason so far. And you would have thought that they were their premier stars at different junctures of the playoffs. I don't know. I think they're capable of anything. It wouldn't surprise me either way, but I certainly would have a lean if I was going to bet this game. I'd go ahead and take a shot with the Panthers, probably getting a little bit of a price on the money line and think maybe they make it 2-0 and perhaps, I mean, is it possible they sweep their way again against Carolina into the Stanley Cup final as they did a couple of years ago? What do you think, Lubie?
Yeah, no, it's hard for me to believe
too much.
Yes, it's hard for me to believe that the Carolina is not going to get one. Like, it feels like, look, again, the people are poking at their pride, and that's something that, especially in hockey, like I stay far away from doing. So it feels like Carolina will even it up here, which is, I mean, again, the Panthers getting a split is all I would have hoped for in Carolina coming home for this weekend. We'll see. Look, the Panthers have gone up 2-0. The Panthers have dominated teams, especially Carolina. So it's not, I wouldn't put it past them. This team screws. You saw it in Game 6 versus the Maple Leafs. Like, when they have a chance to really get ahead, sometimes they sort of mess with it. So it feels like this might be that for the Panthers with Carolina.
Will we hear the term sense of urgency applied to the Carolina Hurricanes at any time during the game tonight? What do you think? Sense of urgency.
Yeah, for sure.
They're playing with a sense of urgency, as I would think. Losing the first two at home would at least give you the idea that, guess what? We're rhymes with bucked. Going back to Florida if you're in an 0-2 hole. So, real interesting tonight. And then, of course, baskets. Is there a ton of interest around the country in this series? OKC and Minnesota?
That one now.
Doesn't seem to. Is it just me? Because we're here and a lot of people are, either pro or anti-Nick. And there's always going to be more attention given to New York and LA teams. What do you think? I mean, is this series just being contested as sort of window dressing by comparison to the Indiana-New York series, or should we be paying much closer attention to it since many feel that Oklahoma City is just going to win this thing outright, the whole ball of wax?
Oh, that's the problem. Is I think game one would have drummed up some interest, but as you saw late, the Thunder were just too much, and that's sort of what people feel like is going to happen. So to like watch the games feels like a waste of time. Like it feels like your uncle used to say, the fourth quarter will decide it, and it feels like it may be 4 or 5 games where the Thunder decided in the fourth quarter. So I think that's really squashed what could have been interesting because it's 2 young stars, are a lot of fun to watch. I think the way game one went will put a damper on the series.
I know we made a couple of boxing references because I'm still I really enjoyed talking to Jim Lampley about the HBO boxing that he did for 30 years. But and now Manny Pacquiao is making a comeback. And are you catching? Yeah, he's actually got a title shot coming up against a guy named Barrios, who I'm not that familiar with, but he's coming back, and there are a lot of videos being posted all over the place, social media and various sports sites, of Manny going through early stages of his preparations, working out. He's been in the Wild Card gym there with Freddie Roach. He's been out putting on various exhibitions. At public exhibitions, working out a little bit, not really doing anything serious, but on display. And it's very much like this Tyson Jake Paul thing, where you're watching Pacquiao and thinking, "Wow, the guy's still got it." Is that just an illusion, Lubie? How is he going to come back off this lengthy layoff when it appeared like his skills might have been in decline anyway? And rightfully so. The guy had a zillion tough fights going all the way back to when he was the Mexicutioner and was fighting Morales and Pereira. But, I mean, is this an illusion that we're being presented? There's some very convincing videos out there that Pacquiao still has a little bit of spark.
Yeah, but okay, we saw him fighting at the end. It was already falling apart then. Like, why would not fighting for years make him better? That's not.
It's incredible how they are able to pull this off. And then, of course, when is this Jake Paul thing taking place? Is that this weekend coming up?
Oh, I don't know.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who was not known for being the most dedicated when it came to training, and it appears he's no different today as he's getting this Jake Paul fiasco. And I guess, would that give Jake Paul the distinction of being a real boxer? As Chavez Jr. has been out of the game for some time and really seemed indifferent to the idea of giving it his best when he was in the ring, although he had some minor accomplishments, I would say, not compared to his father, but he wasn't the worst guy that we've ever seen. He certainly wasn't Jimmy Smith, which, by the way, that video keeps popping up all over the place for me, Lubie.
People love that video.
It's just so classic because it's true what Emmanuel Stewart said. You never know what you're going to see in boxing. And having done many live events, I don't know, I probably did like 50, 60 boxing television shows. And you just don't know what you're going to get. But nobody could have anticipated that, the so-called Rock'em Sock'em robot fight that this guy put on. And I remember being in the locker room before, and we were getting a little information about the different fighters that were lesser known of the fighters on the card. And I remember saying to my partner, and that guy named Charles J., something doesn't seem right about this guy. Like, how the hell did he get sanctioned to step in there in a pro boxing match? And if you ever see this thing, which millions have, it's just an absolute classic. All right. Thanks, Lubie. Always a pleasure, my friend. And we will see you later on. And, of course, we'll be back again tomorrow, the professor, with what I think is the best streaming segment anybody does, the big board. So always look forward to that. And if you Bleacher Brothers fans are not familiar with it, definitely tune us in tomorrow about 8:30 at least and catch the professor and his big board, a sensational segment and commentary on the state of the world of sports. All right, Lubie, thanks so much for all your help. Dave Gurggles Gergely, we thank him for conducting the trivia challenge. Congratulations to Andy, our winner. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.